And good evening from virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway in Hampton, Georgia. It's the final event in segment 2 of season 2 for the eNASCAR Heat Pro League. Along with Hannah Newhouse and Rusty Walrus, I'm Adam Mackey bringing you the best in NASCAR Heat racing with the eNASCAR Cup Series. Hannah, all gloves are going to be off tonight as we potentially lock in 2 more drivers to the championship race. Where will that measure up on the excitement meter?
Well, the excitement is going to be pegged this evening. There's a lot of drivers that are they're going to be aggressive trying to get this final spot. You've got Daniel Buttafuoco, who was so close in segment 1, and he wants so badly to lock himself into this championship finale. But in the PlayStation side, any of the drivers from 1st through 10th right now in the point standings have a chance to lock in tonight. The Xbox, the top 3 could lock in tonight. So everyone, like you said, is going to have their gloves off because their chances of locking into the championship are winding down.
Rusty, just out of your camera view there, you have a huge calculator, in fact, multiple calculators to figure out who's going to lock themselves into the championship tonight, don't you?
Yeah, Hannah said it perfectly. There's 3 drivers on the Xbox side that we're going to be taking a look at, but on the PlayStation 4 side, 10 guys are mathematically eligible. 7 can win to get in. Anything can happen here tonight. And the best part is I think every driver believes they can win, and that's only going to add to the excitement and the drama because they're going to be trying to put themselves in position to not only win the race, but to get themselves in that championship race where the prize pool is $60,000. So I can't wait to see what they're willing to do here today.
It's going to be a fun night of NASCAR Heat Pro League action, season number 2, segment number 2 of 3 segments. This is the last race of segment 2. It's going to lock in potentially 2 drivers to that championship race that pays out that big money that you were talking about, Rusty, just moments ago. And here's a look at what we've got coming up on our coverage tonight of our 2 races for the PS4 gamers. Coming up first in that tight point battle that sees 10 drivers with a chance to lock themselves in by winning the segment tonight. And then the Xbox racers will hit the track. Only 3 drivers with a chance to get into the championship race, but somebody's going to try to play spoiler and win the race tonight because big money is paid out to each of the race winners as well. $2,000 on the line for each of the 2 race winners here tonight from Atlanta. It's going to be crazy good here tonight at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Cody Giles, one of our drivers, we're going to get to know him a little bit better, and also some setup secrets from Jason Mitchell's one of our racers in this first event.
When the Pro League started back on Heat 3, that was it. I was like, well, give it a shot and see where I can go with it. And this season, it's bringing new promises to the horizon, and I'm glad to be on this team.
Atlanta's a bumpy track, so you really got to get the right feel. The right track bar helps you on entrance, and the left track bar helps you with exit. If you go too much on left track bar, you'll feel the car pull off of exit to the left. Right track bar, you'll feel the right rear turn a little too much on entrance.
If you want to hear even more from Cody Giles and Jason Mitchell, you can go to motorsport.com for those videos and even more from the great folks at motorsport.com. Race details here tonight for our first event at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Race length 55 laps, the distance tire wear times 3 at a 1.5 mile track that's very fast, Rusty.
Oh, yeah, they're going to be on it tonight, ripping the corners. But we're looking at about 2 pit stops, and we're going to take a look at the tire wear. Just like the real Atlanta, the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway is going to chew up those tires, so the drivers are really going to have to focus on managing their grip out there. And also, keep an eye on the draft. These guys, it's gonna get some big runs and puts the drivers in some precarious positions with blocking and sending it on the bottom to try to make up spots. So keep an eye on the draft and the big runs here down the backstretch.
Well, these drivers here at Atlanta Motor Speedway are going to have a hard time living up to the excitement that they put on a week ago at the planet's fastest short track, Iowa. It's Hannah's favorite track, and let's take a look at some of the highlights. As we get ready for the PS4 gamers to take the track for this 70-lap race, Field takes the green. We are underway at virtual Iowa. Oh, and we've got trouble already. We saw contact from behind, 2 cars up against the wall. Did not take long in this one. Gritton trying to thread the needle, now going to the bottom side of the track. Oh, running out of room was Gritton. Here comes Bross on the bottom. 5-car battle for the lead.
Oh, we got a big
trouble.
wreck in the back.
Car flying into the air, up off the ground. Wow. yellow flag to set up a shootout.
This is going to be the craziest thing I think we've seen all year.
Coming to the checkered flag off the final corner, taking the victory at Iowa is Giles.
Honestly, just been waiting for a win. Finally got it. I like to thank Spin, Wood Brothers Gaming, obviously. This win definitely means a lot to us.
And there's a live look in at our drivers for tonight's racing action. Many of those in their cockpit with the Fanatec wheels and pedals getting ready to go here tonight at Atlanta Motor Speedway for racing action. 55 laps coming our way for the PS4 gamers. Up first, Hannah, look at the focus of these drivers getting ready to go tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. You see a wave there from Daniel Buttafuoco, but a lot of these drivers getting into that focus mode because, again, we can't emphasize it enough tonight here, Adam. 1 through 10 in the PlayStation has a shot at locking in tonight. So who's going to make these aggressive moves early on? I would think everyone would be a little patient, but you never know with these PlayStation drivers.
Time to take a look at the starting order for tonight's event. Brandon Hanna. It's Hanna from Indiana on the pole, his first pole in NASCAR Heat Pro League action. Jason Mitchell, heard setup secrets from him. He starts second. Josh Harbin, Cody Giles, they make up row 2, Hannah.
And looking at row 3, Kyle Arnold for Jermaine Gaming starts on the inside there. Brandon Gritton had an up and down week last week. Will start on the outside. Joey Stone in row 4 looking for that breakthrough moment, and Corey Rothgibb on the outside of him.
Moving on back to row number 5, Mike Bross and the Petty Esports. Number 44, Maxwell Castro, who locked himself into the championship race by winning segment 1. He starts 10th, and Joe Gornick in the 7. TJ McGowan in the 47 make up row 6.
And rounding out the field in row 7, Nick Jobs and Josh Parker. Parker going to have to make a run towards the front if he wants to get those extra points.
Moments away from going green, Rusty. It's going to be a big one tonight. 10 drivers in this race with a chance to win the segment and transfer to the championship race. A lot of money on the line, including $2,000 to win this race, but more importantly, a chance to get to the championship. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I cannot wait to see what these guys are willing to do right off the bat. I'm looking to see how they're going to try to clear themselves down to the bottom. Who's going to be aggressive? Who's going to be patient? This is going to be the most insane race I think we've seen all season as we're about to come to the green flag.
Field making its way through turns 3 and 4, getting ready to see that green flag, getting ready to go at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Race 8 of the season. 14 total races this year. Green ready to wave. Here comes Hannah on the pole. Gets a good start. We're underway at Atlanta. The sound of speed at Atlanta Motor Speedway, making their way down the backstretch into turns 3 and 4. Brandon Hanna leads the way. The field singling out somewhat behind him. But you see one caught in the outside lane. It's outside pole sitter in the 32, Jason Mitchell. Is that a place you want to be at this stage of the race, Rusty?
No, you want to work your way to the bottom as fast as possible and get nose to tail, because once you're right up on their bumper, like you see Josh Harbin on Brandon Hanna, you get in the draft and you get a nice big run down the backstretch, but the bottom of the racetrack is the place to be. We see Kevin Harvick put his car down there. We're going to see everybody do that here tonight, and that is where you're going to find the most speed.
Early on in this race, completing laps, staying clean. So far, Hanna leads, Harbin second, Giles in third. Arnold Rothgeb completing the top 5 as they race to turn 1 and 2, Hannah.
And Brandon Hanna out front there. We saw him get a win in the preseason. He's been looking for a breakthrough moment. Still early on in the race, I would not even start to call it. There's so much that can happen. One of these drivers, we've seen it in practice. They've made their way away from the pack, but that was not usually who won the race. There was excitement later on. So Brandon Hanna putting that distance between himself and Josh Harbin. But Harbin has been on a hot streak the last couple races. He's been strong, he's been consistent, and he is in the running tonight.
He definitely is in the running. Third in the points coming in, just 2 points behind Giles, who leads the standings in the number 16. Rothgeb second in the points. He's just a point back of Giles. It's crazy tight at the top. The top 4 all within 4 points of one another. Hannah leads this race. Harbin second, Giles third, Arnold running in the 4th spot. Keep our eyes on that Geico number 13, always fast, and Rothgeb completing the top 5. Mostly single file, every once in a while seeing a driver peek to the outside lane, Rusty.
Yeah, this is pretty much according to plan right now. The strategy is to get in single file, keep pushing forward. But when you get a big run down the backstretch like you see Josh Harbin do, it invites an opening on the bottom to make a pass for the lead if you want to take it. But Josh Harbin is not wasting any time. He wants to control this race and get that car out front.
You see the 13 of Arnold making a move to the inside now. Brandon Hanna caught in the outside lane. He'll try to find it opening to the bottom, but right now it's a train of cars on the inside lane. He might try to squeeze down in front of the 13. Couldn't quite do it so far. Still has an opportunity as we watch the battle. 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th as they race to turn 3, Hannah.
And Nick Jobs in 6th place, a man on the move, started in that final row, already up to the 6th place. He was on the bottom, made a little risky move there, able to slide back in the racing group. But time and time again, we've seen it, Adam. You do not want to get stuck on the outside here. That didn't pay dividends for Hannah, was able to slide down into the 3rd spot, but do not get hung out on the outside here. But Nick Jobs trying to make a move, wobble down the backstretch all the way high, all the way low. What is he doing right now? Is he trying to figure out what line is going to play out for him? Because clearly the bottom groove is what's working.
Side to side, as you mentioned, all the way to the top of the track on the backstretch. Oh, nearly some contact there as we watch from the Caterpillar machine of Stone running right behind Gritton. That was 8th and 9th. In fact, Stone is now caught in the outside lane. He may fall all the way to the back of the field as they are lined up nose to tail. Bross losing kind of the pack a little bit, maybe losing some of the draft there that takes place here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. But 1st through 13th, all nose to tail. Bottom of the track in 3 and 4. Harbin leading the way in the portal number 95. Giles running 2nd. And of course, Giles leads the standings coming in by just 1 over Rothgeb, who runs right now in the 5th spot, Rusty.
Yeah, we're right on board here with Cody Giles. Won last week. He's just kind of just like what Josh Harbin is doing right there. You want to get nose to tail on these guys and be defensive. So when you see down the backstretch, guys pull it all the way down. They're trying to block. They're trying to prevent guys from sending on it. So they're trying to keep their position. They don't want to get stuck on the outside. They don't want to get freight trained. So they're pulling it all the way down. So if you start to see guys get a little erratic, that's what they're trying to do. It's just they're playing offense and a lot of defense out here in the draft, because once you're out of the draft, you're going to be in a lot of trouble like Mike Bross is. He's going to need a caution, or he's going to have to switch up his strategy, maybe try to get into fuel saving. But the key is to stay in the draft during this race.
You can see the live standings. We'll try to keep you updated because this battle was so tight. Harbin, because of his lead, it's a 10-point difference in finish from 1st to 2nd. You get 10 additional points for winning a race than the guy that finishes 2nd. So the key is, most likely, the guy that wins this race could very well win this segment number 2 because of that big difference of 40 points down to 30 points for those top 2 spots. And that makes a huge difference towards that championship battle. And right now, Harbin holds the advantage. You see him in the lower left of the screen working the wheel. Cody Giles, the lower right, working his Fanatec wheel as we race here early on during this first green flag run of this race number 8 of the 2020 season. Season number 2 for the eNASCAR Heat Pro League from Atlanta Motor Speedway. 44 laps to go. It will be in the 30s. Somewhere in the 30s, we'll see our first round of pit stops. And Hannah, right now, it's been pretty good racing middle of the pack.
That it has. We got to see on board with your 2 front runners of Harbin and Giles. Again, both of them on Fanatec wheels and pedals. Everyone running the same equipment this year, which has been, I feel like, a level playing field for some of these guys that maybe last year were on controllers and had this wheels this year. But so much focus and concentration going on. We saw Giles at one point pushing Josh Harbin down the backstretch. Everyone, though, has settled into their spots. Brandon Hanna in that 3rd. But again, you cannot win this championship in this lock-in battle here on lap 43 to go. You have to be there at the end, and in practice, these guys prove that. We're going to see a lot of change-up. Ooh, almost 3 wide going corner, though. A little impatient from 4th on back.
Oh, it's getting a little wild from about 4th on back, as you mentioned. In fact, Giles for the lead, looking to the outside. And he has Hanna in tow. Here comes the Interstate Batteries number 18 machine of Parker for the 3rd spot. Gets to the inside of pole sitter Brandon Hanna. They're side by side racing through 3 and 4. Parker's going to take the position away. Parker, a driver that was pretty far down in the points race, was listed 9th, but technically and mathematically had a chance for the championship. But he's definitely going to need a win, and he's going to need some help in this race to make it happen as Harbin leads the way. 41 laps to go, Rusty. Is this playing out still the way you thought it would?
Yes, and this is the fun part of the run. We're about halfway through the fuel and tire run, so this is like they start to slip and slide a little bit, so that gives openings on the bottom here. So you're starting to see guys like Josh Parker who are saving in the back of the pack a little bit. Brandon Gritton, your defending champion, was saving just a little bit, so you have a little bit more grip, you have a little bit more under you to make these moves. So when the window opens, the 18, the 14 have been sending it, but look for these guys to start thinking about hitting pit road in about 5, 6, 7 laps.
We have reached the first 15 laps being completed with 40 laps to go. Still tight competition throughout the field. The first 11 in the rundown within 1 second of one another. Saw Brandon Gritton there for a moment. The number 14 Smithfield machine running in the top 5, ready to make his move. Started a little further back in the field tonight, but he's been able to pick up some spots. He's in the top 5 now, running just ahead of the Brandt number 7 of Gornick. But right now, just about everybody within striking distance, and that was the case for the points battle coming in for this second segment and trying to transfer a driver in. Of course, the driver that transferred in segment 1 was Maxwell Castro. He, in this race, doesn't have as much pressure on him. He's 8th in the event, but he's already locked into the championship. So what he's trying to do is just trying to win a race, try to collect some extra money here tonight as Josh Harbin leads the way. There they are, side by side, competing. The 14 of Gritton making a move on the inside lane. On the outside is Giles dropping back a spot, Hannah.
And battle heating up for that second spot. Parker and Gritton really battling for the second spot. Oh, high into what could be the wall. A couple drivers with contact. I think everyone was able to hold it on there, but it looked like Josh Harbin. A couple of them made contact. But we've got our first pit road takers. Josh Harbin, Joey Stone, Cody Giles, Kyle McGowan, and McGowan and Brandon Hanna now down pit road. So there's our first pit cycle, and that hands the lead over to Josh Parker.
And Hanna showing up as a lap down there, so maybe some issues for Brandon Hanna in the 17. Watching the battle for the lead. Dropping off the pace is Parker because he's coming to the pits. Hands the lead to Gritton, who was part of the championship team a year ago. 36 laps to go. Just a few drivers remaining out on the track. Gritton, Gornick, Mitchell running first, second, and third. They're by themselves, up over 2 seconds over Arnold, who runs in the 4th spot. I think 2 or 3 more about ready to come to the pits this time, Rusty, as yellow waves for the first time from Atlanta. Caution is out.
Oh, man. For the viewers at home, when you see the drivers pull all the way down to the backstretch below the yellow line, that tells you they are signaling to their competitors that they're going to come down pit road. And when you saw the first guys come down, it kind of caused a big incident. People choose different points to pull down onto the apron, and that causes stack-ups. And we saw on the second pack of cars, Castro got in with some of the guys pitting. So just chaos early on the first pit stops of the day. I don't know if it's the pressure, guys trying to get everything they can get, but pit road entry, we still got to come down at least one more time. This is going to be a story that's going to keep continuing here through tonight.
And now we'll see how after they restack the field and after these yellow flag pit stops take place for those that didn't come to the pits, how Harbin, Stone, Giles, McGowan, Jobs, Hanna all caught 1 lap down, and a number of those other than Harbin still 1 lap down. So the last 5 in our rundown, they're going to need some help to get back on the lead lap. It's a good break for Parker, who leads the way. Bross running second. Restart from Atlanta. 33 laps to go. 32 now as we go back to green. And another round of pit stops coming up, probably with about, what would you say, Rusty, about 10 to go?
Yeah, they might split it in half depending on where they're at on the track and what they're doing, but the good on the tires is about 18 laps. Some guys might try to push it all the way in, maybe take fuel only, maybe, I should say right side tires with a splash of gas. It's going to be all up to where they're at on the track and where they're running, basically their distance to the front of the pack. That's what they're going to have to figure out in their minds, is how they're going to set themselves up to be there at the end. But you see the guys trapped in the lap down, absolutely devastating for the race. They're going to need multiple yellows to get the waiver rounds to get back up on the lead lap. Like Joey Stone, one of your championship contenders, Cody Giles, one of your championship contenders, they are trapped down. So that eliminates 2 drivers at this point in the race from contending to get into the championship race.
Going to be 30 laps to go this time. Gritton leads the way. Parker runs second. Arnold, Castro, Gornick in the top 5. Hanna going to be exciting down the stretch.
and that it is, you'd mentioned those drivers that are trapped a lap down. I think they still have a chance if they can get those cautions to fall where they want, and we're still so early on in this race. And how what these guys are racing, I think we'll see a couple cautions, as you can see there, bouncing off of each other. Rothgeb bounced down into the car below him. Everyone holds on to it. Everyone is on edge at the moment, and it's only going to intensify as these laps wind down here at Atlanta. But Brandon Gritton with a comeback here, currently leading with Kyle Arnold alongside him. Again, Arnold, someone who has been looking for that breakthrough, collected those wins. Him and Castro have been battling all season long. So I know Arnold is almost looking for redemption from that first segment, was so close, and is going to make a move here. He's pushing Brandon Gritton through the corner here.
Just unofficially looking at what I have for the points coming in on this event for the last race of segment number 2. If your leader, Gritton, wins this race, he'll win the segment. If second place, Arnold, ends up winning this race, he'll win the segment. It's just going to be so key to be the driver that claims the win, I think. And Castro's in third. He's already locked in. So Rusty, if Castro wins this race and happens to win the championship, which he needs a little bit of help because he was pretty far down the points, but if he happens to win the second segment, then nobody locks in from this segment because he's already locked in.
Yeah, once he takes the lead, my calculator's going to start smoking. But I'm loving the way Castro's driving. Parker there, nose to tail. They have a little bit of history at the road courses, but you're looking at some of the aggression in the back of the pack. You see Joey Stone pushing his way forward. Since he's a lap down, he's basically taking the gloves off and he's forcing his hand. And if he unintentionally kind of causes a stack up in a caution, hey, it is what it is. He's back in the lead lap, so Joey Stone is not holding back. You're seeing that a little bit out of Cody Giles as well. So these lap cars are going to play a factor with these guys trying to win the race because they want to win this just as bad as the other guys, but they really, really want to kind of force their issue here.
Brandon Gritton, as you see the live standings in the lower right of the screen. Gritton, the race ended right now with him out front. He would win the segment and transfer to the championship race. Kyle Arnold, he's second in the live standings. Harbin, Rothgeb, Giles, all with a chance, but Giles, after having a great start to the race, just didn't have things work out his way. He's running 14th now because he got pinned a lap down when he went to the pits. And look at this battle heading into turn 1 and 2. Toward the, third on back, and one of them up into the wall, up against the wall through turns 1 and 2. Trouble for Jobs in the 25. And we stay under green right now, Hannah.
Man, what a tough break for Jobs in that lap down now. That's going to be even harder for him to recover this lap, and he had such a good run going early on in the race, had started in that last row and made his way up to the front before getting a trapped lap down. But look here at your leaders, Brandon Gritton and Kyle Arnold, chasing each other down, the battle heating up behind them for that third spot, almost 3 wide. You wouldn't even be sure if this is a live shot of Kyle Arnold because I'm not sure he's moved. You can't even see the movement on him. He's so focused. Brandon Gritton with that low steering wheel hold. It's so fun to watch how each one of these drivers drives so differently. But Afuko in the Xbox sits super low in his cockpit, as you could say. But again, everyone's so focused right now as the laps wind down.
I saw Gritton reach to the middle of the steering wheel there for a moment. I thought he was trying to find the horn, but nobody's in front of him to blow the horn at. He's leading the way over Arnold, Castro, Mitchell, Ross, the top 5. 5 of our drivers pinned a lap down under the first round of pit stops when the yellow came out with bad timing. 2-car breakaway. Gritton and Arnold, 23 laps to go, Rusty.
Yeah, I think Arnold's got him right where he wants him. He's just hanging out in the draft, kind of saving his stuff, because when you're behind the leader, you can kind of manage your tires, manage your fuel. So Arnold is just putting himself in position for this race. Brandon Gritton, good storyline to follow here. He is a defending champion, and he's trying to show that he's got the heart of a champion and come through clutch when it matters most at the end of the segment. But the battle in the back here for about third on back, these guys are not giving an inch. Look at them just on top of each other, weaving in and out. They're trying to race like this is for the win right now.
And if you're Gritton and Arnold, you like to see all that battling back there because that gives you a chance to maybe gain a little more of a gap. They already have over a second advantage on third on back, which is all pretty much one pack. I saw Stone there in the Caterpillar number 8 car running right now. The first driver 1 lap down. He would love to see a yellow to get back on the lead lap. 1 driver stepping out of line back there on the outside groove. That's the 32 of Mitchell trying to make headway, but they're falling a little further back from Gritton and Arnold, who have now broken away by over 1 second against the rest of the pack, Hannah.
And this is exactly what we saw in practice, 2 or 3 drivers really getting away from the rest of the group. But again, do not count out anyone in this race, because at the tail end of practice, or those practice runs, the practice races that we've seen, everyone eventually found their way back to each other, and that is when the battle heated up. But those two up at the front putting on a battle of their own. We ride along here with the cat machine of Joey Stone. Again, he is still trapped that 1 lap down, but those drivers that are trapped a lap down, including Brandon Hanna, Stone, McGowan, they're all racing as if they aren't a lap down when that caution comes out, hoping to get back on the lead lap. But again, still, that upper groove really not paying its dividends at the moment. The bottom groove still preferred. It's tough to get down there, but I think we might see a couple drivers make their way down pit road. As I say that, Brandon Hanna and Nick Jobs now make their way down pit road, and I would expect to see a couple more cycle through in the next couple laps.
And exactly what's going on there, some of that strategy, you said they might split it up a little bit, Rusty. Hanna and Jobs need a break, and their chance was coming to pit road a little bit early, trying to make up some ground with fresh tires, get back out there and have a yellow fall at the right time to maybe help themselves out a little bit. Is it a good strategy to do that, Rusty?
Yeah, 100%. You nailed it with Brandon Hanna. He's trying to come in right at that fuel window, that 18 laps. So hopefully when he comes out with fresh tires, he can pick up about a half a second to a second a lap to get in front of a Joey Stone and Cody Giles to possibly put him in position to get the lucky dog if a yellow comes out. So that's exactly what the 17 is doing right here. Whereas the other guys, Cody Giles, Joey Stone, they're racing to be that first car lap down. So it's just a combination of strategies. And I think we're going to see it play right here, right now, as Arnold pulls down into pit road.
Yeah, Arnold comes to the pits at the 2-car breakaway. He was running in the second spot. Gritton, that's the leader of the Smithfield, number 14. With fresher tires, when they come back out of the pits, they are much faster. So I don't know that Gritton can stay out much longer, or he will lose a lot of time to the car that just came to the pits, and Arnold when he comes back out. And it's all about being smooth, getting to the pits, not making any mistakes. And Hannah, we've seen drivers make mistakes coming to pit road, not only today, but over the last few weeks.
Absolutely. Pit road is so crucial in execution, not only getting down in pit road and not wrecking or hitting another driver, but also when they come off of pit road, they need to make sure that they stay all the way down below the blend line, down the backstretch, and then blend at an appropriate time, because they can be penalized for that as well, whether it's in driver's points or immediately. So there's just a lot that goes on pit road that could make or break a driver's day, just like we see in real life. But looks like you said, Brandon, Gritton down pit road now with Corey Rothgeb alongside him. Tires, though, so crucial also here at Atlanta. If a driver gets himself ahead of the rest of the field, a driver with newer tires, unlike some of the other racetracks we go to, a driver with newer tires can absolutely reel in someone that's on older tires in. So 14 laps to go. We see another group cycle through, including Mitchell, Gornick, that joins them on pit road. Parker now with the lead, but these new tires are going to be huge for those that are just coming off pit road.
And you see the 1 car, the 14 of Gritton, back out on the racetrack, falling in line in 6th. That's the 13 of Arnold, who's been able to get around him after coming to the pits a little earlier. So watching those two, they were first and second, well ahead. When I say well ahead, they were a second and a half or so ahead of third place, which was a big pack. And that's the 14 right there of Arnold. It looks like he's one of the first in the rundown of those that have come to the pits so far as they cycle through. The final 2 maybe heading to the pits now. Parker and Castro, the 18 and the 1. And then you're going to hear the clicking in the background of the calculator over there from Rusty Walrus, trying to figure out how this championship battle for segment 2 and the standings there for the drivers, who's going to lock into that championship race as we watch that down over the final 13 laps. 12 to go that time at the line as we watch the battle between Harbin, and there's the 95 of Harbin following closely there. The 14 of Gritton down at the bottom part of the screen. Harbin and Gritton working the wheel. Definitely some good shots there. Watching the focus as they go around Atlanta Motor Speedway, Hannah.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you guys are liking what you're seeing at the moment right now, this intense racing in the action, do not forget NASCAR Heat 5. The Gold Edition drops on July 7th. So you can pre-order the Gold Edition there, and the July 10th is the Standard Edition. So NASCAR Heat 5 just around the corner. I know I'm excited to get my hands on it, and this just makes me even more excited. watching all of this racing action because 12 laps to go. It's still anyone's race here. And guess what? We still have another race after this where another driver is going to lock their way into the championship finale.
You're watching the eNASCAR Heat Pro League Season number 2, Segment number 2 finale, Race 8 of 14 this season. Live standing update, Brandon Gritton showing a 5-point advantage on Arnold. The last time that the standings were updated, Arnold now leading the way in this race, and the fact that he's leading now might even update those standings down in the lower right again, and it does. Arnold over Harbin, then Gritton, then Rothgeb Bross. Shows how quickly those things change, Rusty, with that calculator over there.
Yeah, some of the drivers made it easy on me by pulling off down onto pit road. So now it is just a battle for the win to get into the championship. Kyle Arnold, you saw the difference pitting 1 lap early makes. He pulled out to a 1.5 second lead on Gritton and Harbin, but they are tandeming together to reel in Arnold. They got the draft, they're going for it, and I think we're setting ourselves up for one of those Atlanta finishes.
If you look at the top 4, any of those top 4 that win this race, by my numbers, they would also win this segment. That's how close the points were. It's all about winning this race for one of those drivers in the top 4. And right now, it's Arnold out front by over half a second. Gritton, Harbin, Bross, they're all trying to close the gap. Less than 10 laps to go, Hannah.
And as the laps wind down, the intensity spikes up. Kyle Arnold and Gritton there really starting to battle up. I would love to see Josh Harbin in this mixture as well as he reels in Brandon Gritton. Harbin again looking for that breakthrough moment. He's collected a win, but he wants the championship lock-in. But Kyle Arnold up front, this is everything he wants to see. He's waiting for Harbin to get to Brandon Gritton's bumper because he wants these two to battle for that second spot and allow him to pull even farther away with the lead. This is a perfect scenario if this will stay green for Kyle Arnold.
If it stays green, we're going to have a 3-car battle for not only the win at Atlanta Motor Speedway for this PS4 gamers, but I think we're going to have a battle for that segment between these top 3. Watching them run basically nose to tail now as they've closed in on the leader. Harbin, lower left of the screen. Gritton, lower right of the screen. And the top 3 racing through 3 and 4 down to the final laps from Atlanta. Oh, this thing's getting extremely close as Gritton looks to the outside on the front stretch, Rusty.
This is unbelievable. Oh, as we're seeing Brandon Gritton take a look to the inside and move Arnold up the track. We got contact for the lead with 6 to go, but keep an eye on Josh Harbin. He's going to get a huge run down the backstretch. He might send it on the inside of turn 3 coming up here.
Nose to tail, there's been contact for the lead. 3-car battle. Who's going to win this segment? Who's going to win this race? Right now, it's Gritton out front. The Smithfield number 14. Harbin running second. Arnold running third. 3-car battle. 5 more laps to go from Atlanta, Hannah.
And you can't count any one of these 3 drivers out. Arnold right there in that praying position. He, with the right momentum through the corner, could regain that lead. Brandon Gritton, though, has dropped the hammer. He is on fire, moving away from Josh Harbin, but with a little assistance from Kyle Arnold, they're starting to close the gap. These are going to be the 5 longest laps of the season so far for Brandon Gritton if he continues to hold this lead.
And Gritton was part of the championship team a year ago trying to win the driver championship here in season number 2 for the eNASCAR Heat Pro League. He leads the way in car number 14. Harbin runs second. Arnold runs third. They're settling in the second and third spot, and I think they're starting to close the gap that Gritton looked like he might start building up. Going to be 3 laps to go this time, Rusty. Can they make another run at the leader, Brandon Gritton?
I think Bear's got him right where he wants him. You see Gritton slide the tires on the exit out of 4. Josh Harbin is on the outside. This is going to be nuts heading off into turn 1 as they make contact in second place.
And a car into the wall. Arnold made some contact in the Geico number 13. Dropping back to second is Gritton. Leading the way is now Harbin as he's been at the front of the pack at different times during today's race. Going to be 2 laps to go as yellow flag waves. And, I don't know that these 3 drivers at the front wanted to see this because now there's going to be more drivers involved with a chance to win.
This is unbelievable.
Hannah, craziness.
They were fighting for the win and to lock themselves in, but this is going to change everything. We've said that the last couple of weeks, but this is going to be nuts. These guys are going to come in and take tires. This is going to be an unbelievable finish to get into the championship.
Hannah, if it wasn't crazy enough, now we're going to take tires and bring a few other drivers in contention with a chance to win here. I don't think these top three wanted to see this yellow.
Absolutely not. You can look at Josh Harbin right there, and he's almost sick to his stomach. Leading the last laps here, was well on his way, personally, I think, to capturing this segment win. And now you throw 7 more drivers into the mix that have a shot. And those drivers that were in 4th or 5th coming to the green, they now have a shot, so they're going to be even more aggressive as the green flag comes out.
Final 2 laps of this race. He who wins this race most likely will win the segment. And that's the case for the top 4 drivers in the rundown. As we're watching Harbin lead the way, some contact on the backstretch. Heading down to turn number 3, Harbin, Gritton, Arnold, Bross, all in contention here. 10 drivers came into this race with a chance to claim the segment, with a chance to go to the championship. It's going to go down to the wire and maybe even past. White flag waving this time. Final lap from Atlanta, Hannah.
And Josh Harbin in full protect mode, driving in the rear view mirror, but he's got Gritton and Arnold hot on his trail. Gritton literally touching Josh Harbin, goes to the inside, battle for the lead.
Contact made, car up the track. That was Harbin, kept it out of the wall. Leading is Gritton, heading to 3. Can he hold him off? They're trying to mount another run. All the way up to the wall goes Harbin, crashes hard. That's going to put him out of contention. Gritton still leads the way, coming to the checkered flag for a segment win and a race win in Atlanta. It's Brandon Gritton. Wow, Rusty, what a finish. Brandon Gritton.
Brandon Gritton, man,
was 8 points down of the championship coming in. Sorry, and look at the craziness. Harbin walking away dejected the way that race ended for him. Wow.
Yeah, the race completely changed right there at the end when that yellow came out. And if you've been watching the Pro League, Brandon Gritton, your defending champion, is one of the most aggressive drivers in the league, and he's going to stuff his nose in there every single time, especially when it's 1 to go. Heartbreak for Josh Harbin. Kyle Arnold was right there, but your defending champion did what he needed to do to lock himself into the championship.
Hey, somebody needs to bring me on some oxygen. I need to take a breath after that last 2 laps. And you think it was intense for us. Can you imagine driving one of those cars with so much on the line? Driving the simulator, Hannah, just nuts trying to get to the finish. Keep your car not only in one piece, but you know it's all on the line. $2,000 to win the race, and then a chance to go into the championship race. So big.
I mean, Rusty said it. My heart just breaks for Josh Harbin. He was in that spot. He was battling for it, and it was just a mixture of everything taking place that ultimately sent him into the wall, back out of contention. But he put himself perfectly in the place to finally capitalize on this moment, get that championship lock-in point. And it's just what happens here when you're racing and there's 10 drivers that all have a shot at this lock-in position. But you got a hats off to Brandon Gritton as well. He's finally picked up some momentum here. At the beginning of his season, got off to a rocky start, and he was aggressive. You have to hand it to him. He was aggressive the entire race, made some iffy moves, but that's what you have to do when it comes to a championship lock-in spot.
You know, Brandon Gritton came in only 8 points behind. He was down in like the 6th position, and he's going to win segment 2 because he gets 10 more points than the second place guy, and it's going to be huge for him as we're going to take a look at the race results from Atlanta Motor Speedway. Remember, we got another great race coming up right here at the same track to determine a segment 2 winner for the gamers of Xbox, as Brandon Gritton wins the race by just 1/10 of a second over Jason Mitchell. Maxwell Castro, who locked himself in via winning segment 1 earlier this year. Josh Parker finishes 4th. Corey Rothgeb in 5th. Brandon Hanna 6th. And Joe Gornick completes the top 7, Hannah.
And looking a little farther back here in this race results, Mike Bross comes home in 8th. Josh Harbin, man, again, such a heartbreaker for him and Levine Family Gaming in 9th. Kyle Arnold was also up there in the mix, comes home in 10th. Cody Giles comes in 11th. TJ McGowan, 12th. And rounding out your field is Joey Stone and Nick Jobs. Again, all 1 lap down there from 11th on back. Just got stuck down there. The caution's not falling in their favor.
Well, the PS4 drivers have rarely ever, if ever, disappointed over the first 8 races of the year, Rusty. And tonight, that was the case again. All the way from the start to the finish, you never knew who was going to do it, and it was Brandon Gritton who ended up doing it, and he did it by 14 points over Corey Rothgeb to transfer to the championship race. Cody Giles finishes third, Josh Harbin fourth, Kyle Arnold in the fifth spot. Castro ends up finishing sixth, and Mike Bross takes the seventh position. Hannah.
And in that eighth spot, again, Joey Stone, not the finish he wanted here tonight, but still in that eighth spot, gets a chance to restart here in segment 3. Jason Mitchell and Josh Parker do round out your top 10. Brandon Hanna, Joe Gornick, TJ McGowan, and Nick Jobs, your final 14 here in the unofficial driver standings for this second segment.
Rusty, it was everything that we expected it to be for the first of 2 races tonight, as everyone will want to stay around, and we can't wait for that second race this evening.
Yeah, this Xbox side is going to get really intense. We do have 3 drivers with Daniel Buttafuoco, Justin Brooks, and Luis Zader trying to lock themselves into that segment as the segment winner to get in the championship. But there's some guys in this race like Slade Grievett that are going to try to win this race, and they're going to try to put on a show, and they know they're out of it, but they're going to do everything they can to get the money and get the win.
Winner tonight, Brandon Gritton. His first win of the season, and he wins the segment number 2 to transfer to the championship, and Hannah Newhouse has caught up with him in victory lane.
And what a phenomenal race it was. I know we were all on the edge of our seats here. First off, Brandon, congratulations on that win. And I have to ask, the caution comes out, 3 to go. What is going through your head there when that caution flag flew?
Well, I'm kind of glad it did because I had messed up and hit the apron and gave the lead away. And so when it came out, I felt good about it, especially Bear stayed out and did not take no tires or anything. So I knew that gave me a chance if I could hurry up and get in behind him. So that's how it all worked out in our favor.
And that being said, you made some aggressive group moves also throughout that race. I'll give you that much. Was that your intention going into the race, to just be aggressive the entire time? Or were you just trying to capitalize as many chances as you could?
Well, we should already have 3 or 4 wins this year. We kind of raced nice this year, and it just hasn't been getting the job done, so we had to amp it up a little bit. And that's how we got in victory lane tonight.
And finally, getting this win locks you into this championship finale. You were the reigning champions last year. What's now your confidence and your thought process going into not only the final segment, but hey, knowing that you've got a chance to race for this championship and defend that championship title?
It definitely makes it a lot more pressure knowing we did it once, and with the target on our back trying to stop us from doing it again, it makes it tough. But hey, we did it last year. Why can't we do it again? The Smithfield Ford Mustang's been fast all year, and I don't see that stopping anytime soon.
Well, and you'd mentioned it there, how tough it is to win that first championship. Your season this season got off to a little bit of a rougher start. You've picked up that momentum. How tough really is it to win not only races, but a championship here in the eNASCAR Heat Pro League?
It's been tough, but I have a great team behind me. Great guys I work with every day over at Outlaw Nation. The man upstairs has been helping me this whole time, so got a great supporting cast behind me, and we're ready to go for number 2.
Awesome. Well, again, Brandon, congratulations on your win tonight at Atlanta.
Thank you.
There you have it, Adam. Your winner here in Atlanta, Season 1 championship, looking to go for that second championship. I think Stewart Haas Racing, at the end of the day, might have a shot at this.
That they absolutely do. Second race coming our way. The Xbox gamers are getting ready to go. But first, we have NASCAR Heat 5 being released. The Gold Edition on July 7th, Standard Edition on July 10th. And here's a look at what we have in store. Oh, NASCAR Heat 5 coming out starting July 7th with that Gold Edition, July 10th for the Standard Edition, NASCARheat.com for full details. And a Rusty upcoming race. This number 2 of the night, we're going to lock another driver into the championship race. Atlanta Motor Speedway, the site, 5 laps, the 3 times tire wear, and full damage for the Xbox gamers.
Yeah, this one will be fun to watch unfold. 55 laps, that's about 2 pit stops. Tire wear set at 3 times. That's going to be a huge factor. And you got, as you saw, play factor with Josh Harbin there late. And also, the draft is set to low, and that played an even bigger impact on the racing style and the competition as you get huge runs and attempting to block them here at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Motorsport.com put together some cool videos. One of Slade Gravett. We'll get to know him a little bit better. Riley Ogle with some setup secrets, and of course, the highlights from Iowa.
From Cumming, Georgia, 18 years old. Just graduated high school, North Forsyth High. Not really sure what I want to do yet, but I've always had NASCAR games as a kid. And then to getting paid to do this, it's a great experience.
One of the most important things when it comes to building a setup for Atlanta is shocks. All the way down, you want it to be in the 8s because the track is really bumpy. That number will provide you the best base.
From virtual Iowa Speedway, it's the 3rd event in segment 2 of season 2 for the eNASCAR Heat Pro League. Green is out at virtual Iowa Speedway. The fastest short track on the planet, already seeing 3 and 4 wide racing. Leading the way is Justin Brooks. Those two have been the class of the field. They're nose to tail racing off of turn number 2 and down the backstretch, Hannah.
These guys like to rub a little fenders when they get to each other. When the laps continue to wind down, Botafuco may start making some more aggressive moves.
This race is far from over. We got guys that usually are up there battling for the top 5 right now. This is fun. The caution comes out.
Oh boy, it's going to get real fun now.
Everyone is going to be elbows up when we go back green.
Final lap for the 4th time this season. Justin Brooks will find victory.
We got us another one tonight here at Iowa Speedway. Very lucky to be in this position and looking forward to hot Atlanta. I think we can win number 5 there, hopefully.
There's all of the drivers ready to go. Race number 2 of the evening. 14 competitors set to take the green at Atlanta Motor Speedway. The Xbox racers of the eNASCAR Heat Pro League season number 2, segment number 2 finale. It's race number 8 of 14. Of course, that 14th race of the year, the one that they're trying to lock themselves into tonight. 3 drivers with a chance of doing that tonight, Hannah.
And that indeed, pace laps already underway here at Atlanta. These drivers ready to get this underway. And you take a look here at your starting order. Louis Zader, one of those drivers, rallying for that lock-in spot on the front row. And outside of him, Justin Brooks. Can anyone beat him is the question. Slade Gravett in row 2. Nick Walker on the outside of him.
Moving on back to row number 3 for this one. Riley Ogle and Tyler Dohar. Row number 4 of Sam Morris and Jose Ruiz.
And in row number 5, Daniel Botafuco, he's going to have to work his way up to the front if he wants to capture yet another win. Matthew Heel outside of him. Brian Tedeschi in row 6. Jordan McGraw outside of him.
And rounding out our starting lineup for this event at Atlanta Motor Speedway, Matthew Selby, the Stewart Haas Esports number 4, and Diego Alvarado rounding out the field in car number 43. That is the starting field of 14 drivers, 55 laps the distance at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and 3 drivers, Rusty, a chance to make it into the championship if they can win the segment number 2.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of focus on these 3 drivers during this race, but on the front row, you're looking at Justin Brooks and Louis Zader. Those guys are 2nd and 3rd in the point standings, but all the way back in the driver of the 13, Daniel Botafuco, he has to work his way all the way forward, and he has to finish ahead of Justin Brooks to lock in this segment win. So keep an eye on Botafuco as he works his way forward, but also the battle for the win between Brooks and Zader.
Yeah, if Brooks wins this race or wins the segment, and it probably could both very well could happen as the race comes to green off of turn number 4, and we're ready to go at Atlanta. It's the Xbox One gamers on the eNASCAR Heat Pro League. Going back to my previous thought, mentioning Brooks could really be the spoiler tonight, as he's already locked himself into the championship race by winning segment 1. If he wins segment 2 as well, then no one locks into the championship. We'll have to wait till later in the season to see what driver will fill that open spot. As we watch as a battle for the lead ensues in turn 1 and 2. To the bottom of the racetrack goes Slade Gravett. He moves into the number 1 spot, Hannah.
And Gravett, right from the jump of the green flag, went high and dropped all the way to the bottom, made sure he secured that low groove position, and since then has carried a ton of speed early on in this race, instantly taking that lead from Louis Zader and checking out from the looks of it. Justin Brooks, though, in that 3rd spot on defense mode. Sam Morris now to the inside of him for the 3rd spot. So Justin Brooks may be in a little bit of a conservation mode early on in the race, as he now sits in the 4th spot after being on the front row early on. But the young gun of Slade Gravett, last year's number 1 draft pick, looking for a good run this season. Right now, really not in that points championship for this segment win, but looking to check a win off the list once again.
2 favorites entering this race for that segment 2 win, Buttafuoco and Justin Brooks, as they were within 8 points of one another at the top of the standings. Zader some 20 points back, 25 points exactly back of Buttafuoco for that number 1 spot, as we watch him race down into turn number 3. Leading the way is Gravett. Morris running in 2nd, Zader running 3rd, Brooks running in the 4th position. Whole pack of 14 cars within a second and a half, all staying in that lead pack. On the outside lane, though, Zader falling back, one of our championship contenders, Rusty, on the outside lane.
I was just about to say I was shocked how patient these drivers were, but as soon as I started thinking it, business started picking up as you see Zader falling back on the outside with Buttafuoco, and this is not the place you want to be. You saw in the PlayStation race, you want to get to the bottom as Buttafuoco pulls down right there. He's not wasting any time, and he's got to get back in line, get in the draft, and keep his track position, and this will be fun to watch. Buttafuoco try to work his way forward. He drove all the way up to 6th. He's fallen back to 10th because he got out of line, but he's got to work his way back forward to put pressure on Brooks and to try to lock his way into this championship.
Gravett, Morris, Dohar, Tedeschi, Selby, the top 5 in the rundown. Selby started pretty deep in the pack, has already worked himself up into the 5th position. We watch him take that high-angled arch from the top of the track, entering turn 3 all the way down to the yellow line. One of those, Alvarado, also coming from deep in the field, moving up into the 6th position, having a strong run in the U.S. Air Force machine, Hannah.
And Alvarado last week had a good run going at Iowa as well, practiced well. So in that 6th spot, looking to move forward again. He's one of the drivers that's had an up and down season, always seems to find himself at the front of the field at one point, doesn't necessarily qualify where he'd like to, and it never fails. Bad luck strikes him, but 2nd season here has been a little bit more of redemption, running good for once again and returning to Petty Esports. But look along board here of your leaders, Sam Morris, Slade Gravett. Pure focus on the young driver's leader as he pushes your leader of Sam Morris.
Sam Morris, lower left of the screen. He leads the way in the number 5, running 2nd. Slade Gravett actually slipping back a little bit as we watch them race down into turn number 3. Oh, the battle up front of the pack, still all within 1 pack of cars. In fact, maybe just the last 2 starting to slip back a little bit from the full pack of race cars, with just 8 laps into the event. Morris leading the way, Dohar in 2nd, Gravett running 3rd, Tedeschi running 4th, Selby running in the 5th spot, Rusty.
Yeah, there's a lot of comers and goers here today, but these are the first laps I've seen Sammy Morris lead all season, so it's cool to see him work his way up to the front. Diego Alvarado started dead last. He's up into 6th, so these guys are making moves. That they see an opening, they're taking it, and this is about the point in the run where the tires start to go through a transition, and you can start to pick up spots here as we're going to take a look here at the championship standings.
Watching as the top 5 try to break away, Buttafuoco showing right there that he would be the champion if the race ended as it was. In fact, those are actually the points when we came into the race, 88 to 80 for Justin Brooks. Zader had 63. Those were the top 3 coming in, and now you see him update. Buttafuoco with a 7-point advantage over Brooks, and Morris would move up into the 3rd spot if the race would end as it is now, but it won't. And there's plenty of action up front. Morris actually slipping back in the outside lane. Dohar has taken the lead. Gravett's moved into 2nd. Tedeschi in 3rd, and you just don't want to get shuffled back up off the bottom of the racetrack, and that's what's happened to a couple drivers here. It's put them deep in the field, Hannah.
Yeah, and Sam Moore is falling and finally falling in line in that 5th spot. He'll have to rally back and pick them off on the bottom, but Justin Brooks, Mr. Consistent, once again on the bottom here with Daniel Buttafuoco. And Buttafuoco is doing it late model style, as I like to say, sitting really low in that seat, almost looking through the center of the wheel. Definitely different than what we see from a lot of the other drivers, but everyone bobbing and weaving here, trying to keep things straight. Everyone will give each other a tap every once in a while, but right now, single file for the most part, falling in line. This is what we usually see from our Xbox drivers. If melee is going to happen, it's usually at the tail end of the race. The unpredictable ones were the PlayStation drivers, but these guys, they race hard, and they race hard and strategic every single lap. And while we may not see it side by side at this current moment, oh, don't we worry, these drivers, their minds are going on how they're going to make that strategic next pass.
You watch Justin Brooks in the lower left. He's won 4 races this season of the 7 coming in, and he is one of the most animated drivers in either of the races each and every week. As you see him in the lower left, Daniel Buttafuoco in the lower right. He's calm, cool, and collected. Hannah, you mentioned how he sits way down in the seat. It's fun watching all of the different driver styles, Rusty, as we compete here in the NASCAR Heat Pro League.
Yeah, you always wonder what's going through these drivers' minds, but Justin Brooks, as you said, is not afraid to show his emotions and what's going on in his mind. And I was curious how he would be letting this race play out, because he is kind of trapped back in the pack, but you saw the drivers he was mad at were kind of being maybe overly aggressive with their blocking, in his opinion, but that's what you got to do in Atlanta. You got to bring your car all the way down to the low part of the backstretch to defend that corner entry into turn 3. So that's just racing Atlanta. Justin Brooks maybe just letting the pressure get to him, the hard racing get to him. But like I said, that's just Atlanta, and that's what you got to do to keep your track position and defend. And so I'm curious if Justin Brooks is going to amp it up a little bit here and kind of start moving guys out of the way.
Dohar leading the way with 40 laps to go this time. We've completed 15, probably another 7 laps or so before that first round of pit stops. Dohar, Gravett, Tedeschi, Selby, Morris, the top 5 in the rundown. Again, the 3 segment 2 contenders. To win that segment to transfer to the championship, Buttafuoco, Brooks, Zader. Brooks already locked in because of segment 1, so really only Buttafuoco and Zader could be the ones that actually get their ticket to get into that season finale championship race. We'll watch, though, Brooks and Buttafuoco, Hannah. It seems like week in and week out they seem to find themselves at the front somehow, some way, but they're still back in 8th and 9th.
And if any drivers had magnets on each other, it would be these two. Like you'd mentioned, Adam, every single week they seem to find each other, whether it's running for 7th, 8th, and 9th, or 1st and 2nd. And Rusty, I want to bring you into this, knowing that Brooks is locked in and Buttafuoco and Zader are really the only 2 that have a points shot here. You know these drivers outside of the weekly Pro League racing. You know them as friends. Could we see any alliances that have formed or any teamwork that may help? Because Justin Brooks is locked in. He's going to the championship finale no matter what. And if he wins this, no one locks into the championship finale from this segment. It'll go down to the point standing at the end of the season here. So could we see some alliances maybe formed to help someone like Buttafuoco or Zader get there and, I don't know, maybe prevent Brooks from this win?
There might be some secret drama going on behind the scenes, but Buttafuoco and Brooks have the utmost respect for each other. You see them race each other clean every single week. Sometimes they get each other, but that's just a product of hard racing. But I think they're going to take care of each other to the end as the yellow comes out. But
Yellow
you never
flag
know as
out
these things
for the
plays out, because
first
these guys
time.
talk all week.
Yeah, yellow out for the first time, and it's right as we started to make some pit stops. We saw Gravett, Morris, Heel, Ruiz head to the pits, and now that's going to shake things up a little bit. We'll see everyone else come to the pits under this yellow flag, so it works out nicely for some of those up front, like Dohar, because he'll get to come to the pits now under yellow before. And I don't think anybody's going to be trapped in the pits a lap down, so that was a little bit different than what we saw in the first race, Hannah. That's what really shook things up in that event and locked about 5 or 6 drivers off the lead lap.
Yeah, these drivers getting lucky that really no one had come down pit road except for Ruiz. So that will shake things up for him. Again, they did mention the caution did happen coming down pit road. So here we go as everyone is lined back up, still under caution, but getting ready to come to those green flag conditions. Slade Gravett in the front with Sam Morris. So you look there, Brooks and Buttafuoco once again next to each other as green flag back in the air here in Atlanta with 34 laps to go.
Final 34 laps of this one. Still another round of pit stops will come our way. Gravett leads the way. Morris running in second. Heel in third. Dohar, Alvarado completing the top 5. We'll keep our eyes as well on Brooks in the 37, Buttafuoco in the 13 for that segment 2 ticket to get into the championship. So we'll watch that closely as we have 33 laps to go. Gravett leading the way in the Wood Brothers Gaming spin number 21 car, Rusty.
Yeah, Slade Gravett already picked up 1 win this season as he's leading the field here. That caution came out at the perfect time, so as he was pitting, the yellow came out, so he gets to basically keep his track position for free. But we're going to see some really defensive driving here coming up. These guys are not being patient. You can see how aggressive they are down on the backstretch with the blocking. They're nose to tail, so just when you think they're going to get in line and kind of start preparing to put themselves in position, they're just trying to pick up spots and go for the lead. This is incredible racing here at Atlanta, and that's what it's showing you how big of an impact the draft has on the racing here. If you get a little sniff, you can get a run down the backstretch and put yourself in position to make passes. We're going to see here Justin Brooks pulling in behind here. He's kind of just getting in line as Ruiz is taking a look to the inside, but you see the block there from Selby. That's just what happens here at Atlanta, and a little bit of gap there from the first pack to the second gap, but I think the second gap will be able to close it as they get in line and pick up the draft on them.
Watching the Rowdy Energy number 51 of Heel move to the inside lane. It's a battle for the second spot with a ChevyGoods.com number 5 of Morris on the outside, and now Morris is trapped in that outside lane. He may lose several spots as they line up along the inside. Dohar takes him up the banking a little bit. That opens the inside lane a little bit more for Alvarado in the U.S. Air Force number 43. And Morris in the number 5 has fallen now out of the top 5. Buttafuoco moving toward the front. That's good news for his championship contention, Hannah.
Indeed it is, and he runs in that 5th spot, and they were just side by side, but now Brooks runs in the 10th spot, so he's put himself well ahead of Zader, who's in the 13th as well. The best thing he could do is keep as many cars between himself and Justin Brooks as possible, so continuing to pick his way up towards the front. Again, Alvarado, though, good run for him now up to the 4th spot. Matthew Heel, we usually see him around mid-pack. He gets a good run on occasion, running in that 2nd spot, though, right behind Slade Gravett. So good run this evening at the 1.5 miles of Atlanta for that 51 of Matthew Heel.
Closing on the halfway mark of this 55-lap event, the Xbox One gamers here at the eNASCAR Heat Pro League season number 2, segment number 2 finale, trying to lock in one more driver to the championship season finale. Up the track there went Heel. He might get caught in that second lane after we just mentioned how strong he was running. Has several drivers lined up on the bottom. They may end up going 3 wide. There's Brooks stepping out in the 37, looking to the outside in the Cottonelle machine. Now Gravett by himself actually pulling away from the rest of the field over a second lead over Dohar, Alvarado, Buttafuoco, and Heel. Buttafuoco trying to keep his in the right direction, not take any big chances, because right now he's in a good spot for the championship, Rusty.
And Buttafuoco's in a perfect spot, but it's also right in the hornet's nest. These guys are nose to tail. I cannot believe how they're able to keep it clean and not take each other up, because this is as close as you can race to each other in this game without causing an incident. But we're going to take a look at the point standing here, and I think Buttafuoco might be extending it here as he's up in the 4th position with Brooks back in 10th and Zader in last place, unfortunately.
Yeah, those are the 3 in contention for the segment. Saw some contact there between Morris and Heel. Heel caught in the second lane. The live standings as they are running right now. Buttafuoco with 106 points, 15 ahead of Justin Brooks. Slade Gravett would move up into 3rd, and Zader, because he's all the way back in 14th, would potentially fall to the 4 spot. 1 car off the pace, top of the track. We see him go 3 wide. Selby in the 4, shuffled back a little bit as well. Now a run to the bottom lane. Brooks trying to move forward, blocking, closing the door. The Chevy Goods number 5 of Morris. Pretty good racing. And meanwhile, Gravett trying to pull away in the 21 car at the front of the pack, Hannah.
And that car that we saw high and off speed was Daniel Buttafuoco. He now is in the 10th spot. Brooks is up to the 6th. So that point standing that we just saw was more than likely highly shaken up at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised if we now see Brooks to the front of the points lead, slips back to 7th and loses that spot to Selby. That little group right there of about 4th on back is a hornet's nest, like you guys had mentioned. Buttafuoco now at the tail ending of it, pushing Tedeschi, trying to get past him, and now Brooks. Buttafuoco swapping back and forth for that 9th and 10th spot. It's going to come down to only a couple points between these 2 drivers.
It's a big gap in difference when you finish toward the top 5. From first to second in points for a race, you get a 10-point bonus for being the winner as opposed to being in second. Then 5 points down to third, and then it starts to tighten up a little bit from 6th on down, where it's only a point differential. So big advantage to winning. Not quite as big of an advantage from 6th through 10th, but Buttafuoco, if he keeps that 37 in sight as long as a 37, Brooks doesn't win. He goes down onto the apron, comes up on the track, they crash into the wall. 2 of the drivers in championship contention for the second segment have crashed heavily, bringing out the yellow. Brooks went down onto the apron, came back up the track, and hit the 13. Buttafuoco, oh, this shakes everything up, Rusty.
These are your championship contenders to win the segment, and they both get collected in an incident. It looked like Brooks got sent down into turn 1, and I don't know, he just didn't really try to save it and sent it all the way back to turn 1 and unfortunately took out Buttafuoco. But I think they're going to be able to bring these cars down pit road, clean up some of the damage and get them back up to speed. But this is not what you want to see if you're Buttafuoco right now, because this could turn his whole race and potential segment win upside down.
Our 3 in contention for the segment win are Zader, Buttafuoco, and Brooks. And they're basically in the last 3 spots. McGraw's mixed in there in the 3, and you see Brooks in the lower left of the screen, getting everything set back after a pit stop there. Buttafuoco, the lower right, he still looks pretty calm. He knows he has a chance here as we get ready for a restart. To get back underway at Atlanta Motor Speedway, another round of pit stops have taken place down the final stretch of this one. Which of these 2 drivers down here can win the segment, or will it be Zader in the 42? They're the final 3 cars in this race. Zader, Buttafuoco, Brooks. Who's going to rally through the field, make it happen? Heel goes around in the Rowdy Energy number 51. Problems for Heel, brings out another yellow. And oh my gosh, Hannah, we are having some issues right around and just past the mid-mark of this race. And who knows who's going to end up winning this second segment.
Yeah, honestly, Adam, I'm still trying to comprehend that last caution, let alone this one, and what happened with those 2. Because, again, these 2 are 2 of the best here in the Xbox platform, and have them both taken out, let alone by each other. Again, I don't think it was anything intentional, but, man, tough break for them. And that's got to be the break that Zader needs. Yet here's Zader still right in the mix between these 3 with this caution. You've got them running 11th, 12th, and 13. Those 3. Slade Gravett, though, was in that points in that top 3 running here with the win. So he could be close. I'm not sure mathematically if it really is possible if these 3 finish a little bit farther back. But obviously pit stops may have taken place there under the caution with 17 to go, because Buttafuoco now in that 6th spot.
Green flag is back out, 17 to go. Gravett leads the way, saw a little bit of a bobble, maybe spinning the tires a little bit on the start. Dohar will try to drop in line and nearly made some contact, shovels back up the track. We stay under green, heading into 1 and 2. Top 4 single file, outside lane back a little bit is Buttafuoco, one of our segment contenders, and he might be caught in a position he doesn't want to be, in that second lane all by himself. He's able to squeeze down, get back in line right in front of Brooks. And you look down a few more spots at Zader. Those are the 3 we're watching for the segment win. Gravett, he says, let them battle it out back there. I want to pick up this win, take the $2,000 prize. Gravett has picked up a win this year at New Hampshire, trying to look for another one here at Atlanta. Side by side, right in front of the Oscar Mayer number 6 of Walker. That's Dohar on the outside. It's the 32 of Ogle on the inside for the 3rd spot, Hannah.
And Riley Ogle, great run this evening. Slade Gravett in defense mode, though, with Selby behind him. Again, now high. Looks like it was Dohar, I believe, maybe high on that outside groove. Again, no matter what, this outside has not been working. If you're going to try that high groove, you need some help, and unable to get that help will slip back. But Selby and Gravett now starting to push themselves a little bit farther away from Ogle. Ogle under fire, though, by Walker. Walker trying that bottom groove for the 4th spot, now getting Ogle stuck on that high groove.
14 to go, will be 13 this time. As long as it stays green, we will not see more pit stops. If we have a yellow, we may. We're watching them up front. Slight contact there between Gravett and Selby for the lead. The championship battle a little further back for the segment. It's Buttafuoco in the 13, Brooks in the 37, Zader in the 42 is in the 13th position. Side by side right there, that's Buttafuoco and the Geico number 13. We're riding along with a Cottonelle 37 of Brooks, who made a little bit of contact. We'll watch them live. Their Fanatec wheel and pedals racing away with this race closing on about 10 to go, Rusty.
Yeah, Buttafuoco's got this right where he wants it, but I was keeping an eye on Matthew Selby up in second place. I was curious what he was willing to do to get the win, or take the lead from Slade Gravett, because he's been kind of been in some controversy in the Xbox side with his driving style and just kind of some incidents throughout the season, but the voice of SHR coming into this race unleashed Matthew Selby, and Matthew Selby's trying to pick up his first win, but now he's under heat for the lead. It looks like from Tyler Dohar. This race, business is picking up as it looks like Brooks gets off into the grass.
Yeah, and Brooks frustrated, lower left of the screen. Pretty animated driver. Did not work out the way through the dog leg there that he would have liked it to. Got down in the grass, slid sideways, and slips back to the 11th position. And now the field slowing in front of him. Look out! Cars making contact. He's into the wall. Selby makes contact down to the apron. Brooks up into the wall in a hard crash for the Cottonelle number 37. This may take him out of contention. 11 to go as yellow waves yet again. And we'll be down to about a 10-lap shootout. Walker leads the way in the Oscar Mayer number 6, Hannah.
Man, Justin Brooks right now is so thankful he punched his championship ticket in segment 1, because this is not panning out how he wanted to. We know that Justin Brooks wanted to get this win, add another win to his already impressive resume this season, collect that extra cash, and you know what? To win a second segment would also be bragging rights, but he has got to be so thankful right now that he was able to accomplish that in segment 1, and he's good to go for the championship. And on the other end of it, Daniel Buttafuoco watched that wreck and was like, okay, this may solidify that redemption that I need here in this second segment to punch his ticket. So as they re-rack with 8 laps to go, Buttafuoco is sitting pretty good in that 5th spot. Zader all the way back in 9th, and Brooks now in that 13th position.
Back to green. They cross the line. 7 laps to go. That's the lead battle. The Oscar Mayer number 6 of Walker. The Chevy Goods number 5 on the outside of Morris. Looking for an opening is Tedeschi in the Pennzoil Shell number 22. Racing down the backstretch. Final 7 laps from Atlanta for the Xbox One gamers in the eNASCAR Heat Pro League. It's been exciting all night long. And of course, if you missed the action live, you can catch it on MAV TV at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. 9:30 for a replay. Great stuff and plenty of publicity for these gamers, Rusty.
And no shortage of highlights and replays after these 2 races in Atlanta, living up to expectations. So if you guys are just tuning in for the first time this season, MAV TV is going to catch you up on all the action and from the season and from today's race. As businesses continue to pick up, these guys decided they're not lifted anymore. They're not giving an inch. And keep an eye on the 22 of Tedeschi. He has not won the season. So I'm thinking Tedeschi might have something staged here for the driver number 6, Nick Walker, as he's taking a look to the inside here. But keep an eye on the backstretch, the guys blocking, the guys trying to defend. That is going to be what's going to determine the race win, is who can basically keep their car on the bottom the best without getting moved up out of the way.
And Buttafuoco's right there involved in the top 5, has moved up to the 3rd spot. That Geico number 13, not only trying to win this second segment to lock himself into the championship race at the end of the season, but would love the $2,000 top prize for winning the event as well. And he's in contention. He has an opening to the bottom, stays in line right behind Dohar in the 3rd position. That's first through about 7th. Nose to tail, all in contention. They'll be coming to 3 to go, Hannah.
Man, in 3 to go, it is going to be intense. Nick Walker, again, long time coming for this win here. He's just always been not so good at qualifying, but finds his way to the front every single week here. Into the wall, looks like that was Sam Morris, all the way to the bottom. Manages to stay out of everyone's way in the process and slips back to that 8th spot. Buttafuoco, though, now reeling down Tyler Dohar. He's to his back bumper for the 2nd spot.
Nose to tail, and now Dohar steps out of line, looked up top, closing the door. With that block was Walker, and yellow waves. Caution out as you see a live update with the standings lower right of the screen. Buttafuoco maybe wanted this race to stay green, because now we're going to have a shootout, maybe some strategy, maybe some pit stops. What do they do here, Rusty?
It depends what you have, but I think Buttafuoco is in perfect position. I believe Buttafuoco is going to stay out here and could take the lead from Walker, but you never know. This could set up into Brooks' hand if Brooks comes in and takes tires. I mean, he pretty much has to at this point. Zader, you got to kind of wonder what if in his race, because I mean, he might have gotten body slammed right there, but if he was on the other end of this up front during the day, maybe he could capitalize on these guys' issues today. But keep an eye on where Buttafuoco comes out on this pit stop.
Shuffle the deck again. They're going to line them up, and we're going to go green for a final shootout. It's like a green-white checkered, 2 laps to go. Walker and Buttafuoco on our first row. First and second, Buttafuoco wanting to finish ahead of Brooks, finish ahead of the 42 of Zader to get his ticket to the championship race. There was Zader in the credit 142, back just outside of the top 5 on the outside lane, though, and Dohar on the inside as they race through 1 and 2. Just over a lap and a half to go. Buttafuoco holding on to second. Walker leads the way, Hannah.
Man, and Walker holding on to it. Tedeschi, again, part of that Penske team, was so strong last year, looking for the win here in the second spot. High, though. Zader trying to make a run, needs some assistance. Buttafuoco outside as well. Could he be in the wrong line? They'll come to the line here. White flag is in the air in Atlanta.
Buttafuoco may be in the wrong line, but he's still ahead of Brooks. He's still ahead of Zader. So if he keeps it clean and in the right direction, he's going to be in good shape. In fact, a great run on the outside lane coming down the backstretch. Takes it all the way up to the wall. Nearly bounces off the wall. Walker leading the way into turn 3. Right on his tail is Tedeschi. Tedeschi has an opening to the bottom. This could spell trouble right in front of Buttafuoco. Coming down the line to the finish. Who will win it across the stripe? Oh! 3 wide car into the air. Buttafuoco will finish third, it looks like. Brooks goes over again. Heavy damage for the winner of segment 1. And unofficially left side of the screen, it looks like the Oscar Mayer, number 6 of Walker, claims the win, Rusty.
What a finish. That was a 3-wide photo finish for the first time this year, maybe in league history. Walker somehow held off Tedeschi on the bottom. Buttafuoco had the run on the outside. What a finish from these Xbox drivers, but congratulations to Buttafuoco on winning this segment.
Wow. Hannah, that was pretty exciting.
That it was. I feel like that's a lack of words in all of it. I mean, they raced so hard this entire race. Nick Walker pulls the win out here. Buttafuoco at one point was back there battling with Justin Brooks. Brooks ends up upside down twice. And so Buttafuoco captures that win. Once again, these guys do not disappoint here in the Xbox because they race hard every single week.
They do. You know, a lot of times we talk about the PS4 gamers are crazy to watch and how competitive they are. But this race today saw so many drivers stay on the lead lap, stay in contention, and left with that 2-lap shootout at the finish. Just about anybody had a chance. And one driver that was trying to win that second segment to go on was Buttafuoco, and he was in that outside lane. We said, is this the right place to be? But he actually made a great run on the last lap. And all he really had to do was stay in striking distance of Brooks and Zader, and he actually stayed ahead of him coming to the finish. So it worked out well for him, Rusty. The calculator burning up over there, or did it cool down after that first race?
A couple points during the races, it was smoking, but the drivers did what they had to do today on the Xbox side. Buttafuoco was just smooth, clean, brought it to the end. But coming in today, I was curious what the driving would be like because everybody had the confidence and the mentality that they could win today, and we saw that on both races where everybody was just going for it. So I'm just so happy to witness exciting racing like this in the NASCAR Heat Pro League.
The Yellows came out at a perfect time, Hannah, to create a lot of excitement tonight. Worked out really, really well.
And that they did. I mean, these guys practiced knowing what those pit windows were going to be, but you can't predict cautions. So when these cautions came out, it mixed everyone's strategies up. And I think that's what really provided some of these good racing, having drivers like Daniel Buttafuoco and Justin Brooks, who are normally in the top 3. They raced for a majority of the race from 5th on back, and that's not something we see. So that provided some of these guys like Nick Walker, Matthew Heel, all of them to be up in the front running positions. Overall, that created excitement throughout the entire field.
And I guess the race results are ready to be shown, as that was a crazy one. I'm sure they had the photo finish out. Taking a look at the replay as they crossed the line, 15 thousandths of a second. Tedeschi loses to Nick Walker there. What a great battle coming across the line. And Buttafuoco was on the outside within 38 thousandths of a second. So those 3 came across the line side by side. And then Matthew Heel finishes 4th. Dohar, Gravett, Selby rounding out the top 7, Hannah.
And looking farther back there, Jordan McGraw coming home with an 8th place. Justin Brooks, again, upside down, I do believe, twice at some point during this race. Still coming home 9th. Definitely thanking the fact that he has punched already the championship. Sam Morris was up front for most of the race and comes home in 10th. Diego Alvarado in 11th. Louis Zader, one of those contenders, in 12th. Riley Ogle and Jose Ruiz rounds out your field here on the Xbox side of things.
Driver championship standings, very important this year. Each of the two segments, or each of the three segments, locking drivers into the championship. And Buttafuoco, well-deserved for that Germain Gaming Geico number 13. Finishes third in the race to secure a ticket to the championship event. He wins over Nick Walker. This second segment, Brooks finishes third. But again, he's locked in because of segment 1. Tedeschi, Zader, Dohar, Gravett completing the top 7, Rusty.
Yeah, Buttafuoco and Brooks have been the heavyweights this season, but it's important to look at these guys in the point standings here because one of these other Xbox drivers has the opportunity to punch their ticket into the championship race up in the upcoming third segment because it's going to look at either the total segment points or the season-long points battle. So every point matters on the Xbox side going forward.
Team standings for the 2020 campaign so far, and that's combined team standings for the Xbox gamers and PS4. For all of the 8 events so far, Germain Gaming, a 49-point advantage over Chip Ganassi. JTG Doherty Throttlers running third right now. Wood Brothers, Stuart Haas, Team Penske, and Roush Fenway completing the top 7, Rusty.
Yeah, I'm impressed by Chip Ganassi Gaming there with 2 rookie drivers. Germain Gaming has been dominant with Buttafuoco and Kyle Arnold, but we're looking back here at the back of the pack. Levine Family Gaming has left a couple wins on the table. Josh Harbin, we saw a heartbreak today. Petty Esports has upped their game, so you're going to see some of these teams rise up the ranks as we head into segment 3.
Hannah Newhouse has made her way, I believe, to Victory Lane to speak with the winner of a very exciting race from Atlanta Motor Speedway.
And that winner being Nick Walker. You collect the win here in Atlanta. It bumps you up to that second spot in the point standing. So close, but not quite enough to punch the ticket there. But overall, you do collect that win, $2,000 richer here. What are the emotions to collect a win here in the second season?
I know. Can you believe it? It's about time. We've been working on it and working on it and working on it and working on it. But we got it, finally. So I just can't express how I feel right now. That Oscar Mayer Ford was on a rail tonight. And I knew once we got settled in there midway, we had a good shot at it. So we just kept them behind us and looked forward.
And on that last lap, you guys almost came to the start-finish line 3 wide there. Everyone seemed to be on edge. Those last couple laps, what's going through your mind knowing that you're really racing for the win?
Just keeping behind me the best I could. It was a hungry field out there. Everybody's looking for any shot at getting up there and getting at it. So like I said, we were just trying to keep them behind us, and thankfully we was able to do it and bring one home tonight.
And these last couple races have been even more consistent for you. You found yourself with good finishes. Now the win. And we go into the final segment next week here for that final chance, not including the wild card race, but to punch your way a ticket. What's the confidence now going into segment 3 with a win under your belt?
And I believe we go to Eldora too, if I remember right. That's a really good track of mine, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. We got Road America, another road course, so as you guys know, I'm a big fan of those. So I'm feeling really good. We're starting to get things dialed in and figured out, and be looking to more of these.
Awesome. Well, congrats, Nick, on your win today here in Atlanta.
Thank you.
Nick Walker, again, it's been cool to see him collect those good finishes. He usually qualifies a little bit farther back, but his qualifying's been up, and I think that's helped put him in position for these good finishes. And, hey, now that win today here in Atlanta.
Nick Walker was definitely the top dog in that Oscar Mayer number 6 here tonight from Atlanta Motor Speedway. You guys got it. You got it. I saw it. I was waiting. Did they get the dad joke? And they got it. Victory
Nick Walker's
for...
been impressive.
Yeah. Victory for Walker tonight, Rusty. But more importantly, that segment win for Buttafuoco. And it wasn't easy for Buttafuoco. It wasn't easy for Brooks. He had a very tough night tonight. And Zader, who was also in contention to win a segment, couldn't make it happen either. But Buttafuoco was just calm, cool, and collected, even when he was involved in that one crash.
Yeah, as we've seen on the PlayStation side, you have to capitalize every single race and get the job done. But Buttafuoco came through clutch. And punched his ticket to the championship. We saw with Zader, maybe some of the nerves got to him. Maybe he just wasn't prepared for this championship fight. He kind of fell back to the back of the pack, even though he started in the front row. So Luis Zader, he's been very strong. You see the team of Ganassi up front each and every week. So Zader is a guy to keep an eye on head into segment 3.
Got to keep an eye on in that championship race will be that Geico number 13 at Buttafuoco, who's now with Hannah. Hannah?
And I made my quick little run down to our other victory lane here. But Daniel, a great run overall, but this is not usually how we see a race of yours play out. Spent most of your race midway through the pack, was involved in an accident, which we don't see you involved often. How do you summarize your race tonight that eventually led you here to punch your ticket to the championship?
It was too much. That was eventful. So, I mean, I was very mad at myself after qualifying. Just really messed up both laps. Just didn't get what I could out of it. But then, I took a little break. I kind of collected myself and tried to make sure that, it was a good race, take a lap by lap. And was just trying to be patient and make my way through the field, which we did. But that was crazy. I wasn't expecting that race to happen like that. But just got to keep a cool head and just do the best you can. And just got to say, this wouldn't have been possible without everybody from Germain Racing and Geico. Sam Jones, who's our team director, she does an incredible job. Kyle Arnold, my teammate, for helping me along the way. Scout Bonk for all of his, help or whatnot. My friends, not only in racing, but also, from personal life and school. And not only do I race for Germain Racing and Geico, I race for my family. Family is a very big part of my life. As you can see, my mom and my dad go upstairs and celebrate with me right after the race. And as you can see, I was very excited after this result. But also, I want to say hi to my grandma back at home. She's recovering from her second stroke. And I'll be honest, that's been very tough on me personally. It's been a tough week, but, I've been seeing her every day. She's helped me find the strength inside to, keep going, keep putting in the hard work and all that. Just tell me the prayers to say. Just really blessed to have a great team, Germain Racing, but the team family. I have people from Texas, Indiana, New York, and other parts of New Jersey watching this race. So I just want to say, everyone from the Buttafuoco family, I love you. Thank you so much. It's a really emotional moment for me. Can't believe we made it this far. Just really, really happy. It really does mean a lot to me. Just thank you to everyone from NASCAR Heat, Germain, Geico, my friends, my family. It's just a really, really important part of my life. I'm just happy to be here. I know I'm choking up a bit. Just ready to keep going. Third segment, just ready to take it on in the finale.
Well, that's what we love about the eNASCAR Heat Pro League here. It's all one big family. We're glad that you can get your family involved here, but you can take a sigh of relief now, Daniel. You're locked into the championship. You get to go for wins in the second segment. So go upstairs, celebrate with your family, and congratulations on your win. Hey, and you'll get to race for that championship.
Thank you so much, Hannah. It means a lot to me. Thank you.
So cool to see Daniel Buttafuoco finally get that championship lock-in spot here in segment 2. But we've got a whole nother segment coming up that starts next week on Wednesday, Adam, at Eldora. And we're going to send him to the third segment here on Dirt.
Yeah, time to go dirt racing for the first time in 2020 in Season 2 for the NASCAR Heat Pro League. Wednesday, back to Wednesday next week. So tune in a day earlier than you have the last couple of weeks. We'll be on Wednesday, July 1st. Coverage begins at 8 p.m. Eastern Time live. And then, of course, you can watch a lot of our action on Sundays now on MAV TV with coverage beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern and then a little bit of an encore at 9:30 as well. Guys, great events tonight. 4 races coming up in segment number 3 that will give a couple more tickets out to lock in a driver from Xbox, a driver from PS4, and those next 4 races will start next Wednesday at Eldora. It's going to be a lot more fun, Rusty.
Yeah, the action each and every week has gotten better and better. The intensity, as we saw tonight, is ramping up. The stakes are higher than they've ever been before. We've got the money on the line, but now we're coming down to the final segment, pretty much your final opportunity to punch a ticket to the championship. And as you said, we are headed to a place we've never been before. We're headed to the dirt in the trucks. We are going to Eldora, and it promises to be one of the best shows of the season.
And Hannah, we had a great race at Iowa last week, and I agree with you. Iowa was a great racetrack, but Atlanta tonight put on really outstanding racing. And some of that, I think, was everybody was hyped up a little bit more because there were so many championship implications on the line.
Yeah, indeed. I think that was a huge part of it. And then we send them to Eldora next week. I mean, every racetrack that we go to has its own special thing that makes it exciting. These drivers know which ones they perform well at. And then again, off the racetrack, I love the community that the Pro League has. I mean, you heard it from Daniel Buttafuoco. He's got family all over the country and friends watching. It's so cool to see someone like Josh Harbin, his wife, a huge supporter of the Pro League, constantly active and getting to know these drivers, not only on Wednesdays or Thursday nights when we race, but outside of the racing world and in the community. I mean, it's so cool to see the family that this has brought together and really the support and the camaraderie that all of these drivers has. And it shows on the racetrack as they battle so hard each and every week.
That they do, and it was a lot of fun once again tonight. And with that, for Rusty Walrus and Hannah Newhouse and everyone at the eNASCAR Heat Pro League, I'm Adam Mackey saying so long from virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway.
A cage of cold metal with hot rubber at the corners, a chariot of thundering fury. The difference between you and your rivals isn't just the war paint traded in battle. It's more. Refuse to lose. NASCAR Heat 5.